Contextually, my work initially came from my technique. I began by looking at Ongi ceramics in my first year and how they can make really large hand-built forms quite fluently. And I wanted to translate that into hand building because I think hand building is something that can be used to make asymmetrical forms that are sculptural without the need of it being slow and methodical, as hand building is seen. And that began by, as you see, using coils to form the form asymmetrically and using key techniques and basic techniques just to get the groundwork for the form to exist, but from there making sure the forms are compressed and even and consistent and dry thoroughly before firing. You can create forms that are asymmetrical and are off-centered and still live. From there, I began to look at how whites can be used to make a form even in terms of its relation to other forms. So I can make a consistency between forms, and from there, people can begin to make value judgments about difference and therefore in-betweenness. Change is something that exists in between. It's something that we experience in our day-to-day lives, but often ignore. It's a neutral force, and without it, I think the world would be far more boring. It would decay, it would stagnate, and in that, I want my work to embody some form of change, and I do that through how the work is made, how I curate my work, the context, the colours I use. I want the work to talk about betweenness and how there isn't one set way of seeing. In order to have a reference point for in-betweenness, I needed some grounding for people to understand that there is a difference, there is a betweenness, and therefore you can see change. And I did that by looking at Greek and eventually German stoneware ceramics from the 1500s, because they embodied a way of pure tradition, pure ornamentality. They're so iconic in their forms, and because of that, it enables people to very clearly identify them as what they are. And with that, I can use them as tools to show difference. And I did that by creating forms that did exist in between. From there, I looked at Surrealists and Impressionists. Specifically in a book called Cheops, there was a lot of Surrealist ceramics, and there was an Impressionist ceramics book because they showed how life doesn't have to be presented in one specific way. And from there, I also looked at tattooers like Rita Saw and Henry Mackenzie in the way that they don't adhere or conform to a set specific style within a very traditional media.